Hey Bamzi, welcome back to my channel. Today we shall be going through my January budget for 2021 using the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom. So the first worksheet we shall look at is my budget calendar. So I use this one to mostly pinpoint the bills that I'll be paying throughout the month and also highlight any savings challenges that I'll be doing and the goals for this month. So when you look at my January budget calendar layout, mostly I have included the bill payments, and you will notice one thing. For me, I generally like to pay my bills within the first week. So mostly you will see that most of the bills either come out on the first, second, third, or just generally within the first week or 2 weeks or so. So the last bill that actually comes out is gas. And typically with gas, this is very unpredictable because really it depends on how much we are using gas throughout the month. Will determine exactly which day I'll pay that. But generally speaking, the gas usually finishes within the second to third week of the month. So I've highlighted the first as my payday, and these stickers actually symbolize what bills are coming out. So for instance, I have my phone bill coming out, the wireless is also being paid that day, and I'm also doing a few savings, which is this symbol, which is my rainy day fund. Then I have electricity and ground rates coming out on the 2nd, and then I have land payments and cash withdrawal done on this day, as well as some grocery shopping on the 4th. But I don't generally stick to the hard dates on this. For me, this just actually gives me a visual representation of when certain bills are coming out. Now if you look to my right here, there are goals of the month. So for this month, I have two main goals. One, I am trying to maintain my account cushion because I always budget it and always end up spending it. So for this year, one of my goals is actually try to increase this account cushion up to 1,000 or 2,000. My second goal of the month is actually to figure out a new withdrawing system. So I use the cash envelope method, and you will see that once we move on to our bill tracker, why I need to figure out a new cash withdrawal system. So generally this is my budget calendar, and you will also notice that I have some letters here on Friday. So I am also doing the Budget Mom's 2021 Savings Challenge. So the challenge for the month is to select or find a 5-letter word and then save a corresponding amount for that week. So my word for January is build, and every Friday I am meant to pull out the corresponding amount from one of my cash envelopes and save it in its own equivalent cash envelopes, and I will show you that envelope in just a moment. So once you are done filling out your budget calendar, generally this is where you are going to put your fixed bills, your holidays that you plan on spending money on. Generally anything that involves money movement will typically come here, including birthdays and other meetings that will inquire or require money. So the next worksheet we look at is the budget, or rather the paycheck bill tracker. I love this worksheet in conjunction with the cash envelope breakdown. So those two worksheets work hand in hand together, but let me zoom you in with the bill tracker first. So with the bill tracker, the top section you have a section to indicate your income and the date when you receive that paycheck. So remember, the budget by paycheck method simply means you budget every single time you get income. So I only receive one paycheck per month, and usually I budget on the first day of the month. So my tracking period is from the first of the month to the last day of the month. So in the income section, this is where you would include any income you're receiving for the month. So for January, I have money that comes from my main job, which is the salary, and then money that I earned as a side hustle, which is basically leasing out my camera or photography. So this is the amount, and this is the budgeted amount. So for me, generally I receive this money way before. So this paycheck is actually December's paycheck, but I use December's paycheck for the entire January. So for January, my total income is that. And once you are done with the income section, the next portion that you pay attention to would be your fixed expenses or your bills. So for my bills, typically you write the description of the bills, the date when they are due, the budgeted amount, and you will start updating this column when bills start popping out or being paid out. So these are my bills, and this portion here are my savings. So the way I organize this section of the budget by paycheck bill tracker is as follows. The part right above this cash withdrawal bill would be general payments that I need to make or bills that I have to pay. Then anything below the cash withdrawal are savings. So the reason why I separate them this way is that when closing out my budget, it is easier to pick out which ones of these are actually savings and which other ones are bills. So everything above cash withdrawal is a general bill, everything below is a savings. So these are my bills for the month, the dates when they are due, the budgeted amount, and the actual amount. And everything below is savings and its corresponding amount. So you would add everything up, find the total, and then you would be left with some income. So you would subtract this total from the total income you received the month, and then this amount is the amount that you would use for your variable spending for the month. Now, for my variable spending, it took almost roughly about a year plus to actually hone in on what my budget categories are, and I am changing them as I go. But I think for now I have a good notion of what it is that I actually spend my money on, and I have actually separated them into their various categories. So for this month, these are my cash envelopes that I will be using. These are not all of my budget categories. I have more than 15 budget categories, but the way I budget is, if there is something that requires purchasing from that budget category, that's when I will include it. Sometimes if I have more money, I would actually add a few more, but for January, these were my focused or main budget categories. So for January, my focus cash envelopes were beauty, fun, groceries, hair, hardware, transport, and the miscellaneous. So for my beauty category, I budgeted 2,000 kwacha because I knew that I would be purchasing most of my beauty products for the entire year. So this is why that amount is this high. And by the way, though I did not mention this earlier, all of these amounts are in kwacha and not US dollars, although I would wish this were US dollars, but this is in my local currency, which is kwacha. So once you have figured out what budget categories you'll be spending in that specific month, you are then going to subtract that amount from what was left over after you have paid the bills. And then once you are done paying the bills, for me, the next section is my sinking funds. So I have a total of about 7 or 8 sinking funds for the year, and I have already calculated how much I need to save for each month until that sinking fund is required or I need to spend for that event. So I add up all the totals, and the leftover for this case is 0. So I don't have debt, so I don't use the extra debt payment. Neither do I have extra savings that I would want to tackle. For me, savings are already tackled within the bill section, so typically I don't use this one either. So just a recap, you get your salary, subtract your bills. What you have left over is the money that you use for your cash envelopes, and then your sinking funds. And all of this should zero out, because using a zero-based budget method, your income minus expenses should zero out. Now this is to say that this is my planned this is to say that this is how I plan to use my money this month. Not to say that this is how everything will play out to the letter and to the T. As we know, life is full of surprises. So typically this is my plan, but what ends up happening is not that far off because I can foresee in advance what it is that I will spend for. But I always like to have a plan, and that's why I love this method so much. So once I am done creating my paycheck bill tracker for the month, I will then use the cash envelope breakdown to now figure out which portions of my budget will actually be paid in cash and those that will be paid online. So if you watch the budget mom videos, most of the expenses that she highlights here are done via online, but for me some of these bills are actually cash payments. So for the envelopes section, I just simply go through my bill tracker, pick out all those payments that I need to pay in cash and highlight them. I only have about 3 or 4 payments that I actually do in cash, the rest are online. So water is one of them, gas is one of them, the land payment, and some savings, and sometimes even the DSTV is a cash payment. So what you do is write the amount and then use the cash denomination breakdown to figure out what denominations you're going to withdraw for each category. So you calculate your total, and these two values should match, and this is the amount that you will need to pull out for your cash. So this is then mapped into the cash teller slips, which I got from the budget mom. So I use the teller slips, and this is what I would fill in when I'm going to withdraw my money. So I would simply pull out the information that I have entered here into the teller slips and then take this to the bank to withdraw cash. And then right at the bottom are the money thoughts for January. So for this month, my major thought or goal was to figure out a new system to withdraw cash, because my account has an over the counter transaction fee that I am charged if I withdraw a certain number of times of the month. So now I'm just trying to figure out a new way in which I can combat that. An alternative is to simply open up a bank account with a different bank or the same, but for now I think I can work around what I have. And then a second goal is to start looking for a side hustle, which is lecturing part-time. And the third goal for this month is actually start using my app to actually reflect this bill tracker. So I have an app that I use, and I've been using this app for the past 3 years now, and I think I figured out a way in which I can reflect the actual budget by paycheck method using the app. And my main priority goal this month is to grow my account cushion, because I always spend this money. So just as a note, I would also like to show you my bill tracker from January last year when I first started using the budget by paycheck workbook. So this is the budget by paycheck workbook for 2020, and this is the disaster that was my January bill tracker. So just like I said, you have the income section at the top, and then we have the bills section. So over the course of the year, my bills have grown substantially, but even the way in which I organize this bill tracker is very different from the way I do it now. So for January last year, I didn't even include the amount it would actually cost to withdraw cash from this account, because I was charged money, but it isn't reflected here. And this is why the more you track your expenses, the better sense you get of actually how money moves from one account to the other. So of course, I wrote down my bills, and as they were coming out, I was writing how much I spent. And another thing that popped up from the first time I was doing the budget by paycheck method last year was that in my budget last year, I wasn't including the transaction fees for some of the payments that were being made online. For instance, this GoTV payment, I budgeted 160, but what actually ended up coming out was 166. So it was only until 2 months later that I actually started including this in the budgeted amount. So that's another thing to look out for. Your transaction fees, always include those. So you see that there's a whole mess going on between the cash envelopes and this extra debt section. So because I hadn't fine-tuned my budget categories at that point, I ended up using both this section and this section for my cash envelopes, and I was pulling cash for every single envelope and even highlighting it, even though I didn't actually use it in that month. Then of course I had my sinking funds done for the month. I didn't even use the cash envelope breakdown at the time, and I had some goals set for that month actually. So most of them were to add an account cushion to the bills section of the budget. So I hadn't added an account cushion. I didn't have a miscellaneous envelope, and I only started doing that later on. And then I highlighted a point to say that I would want to start using the snowball method to actually start using my sinking funds. So besides an increase in income, I now have customized the budget by Paycheck workbook actually to fit my current situation, especially in a way that it makes sense to me and actually the way money moves from one place to another. So this has been my January 2021 budget overview. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments. If you are also currently using the budget by Paycheck workbook, let me know how you organize your budget, your paycheck bill tracker, and also let me know from which country you're watching. So my name is Victoria Chama. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. If you have comments and questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.